We've gone over a couple different ways to factor. Sorry. One is by taking out a greatest common factor. That's the first one we did. We've also talked about how to factor quadratic trinomials with those two sets of parentheses. Uh, if there are more than three terms, so usually these will have four terms. So if there are four terms, then we're going to use a different method, and this different method is called grouping. So that's what we're going to cover or go over today. Whoops, sorry about that. So here's an example. So if you look at this polynomial, it has four terms. If you look for a common factor between all four, there is not one. Right? We've got 15a squared, 20, 3, and 4. But if you look at those first two, they do have a common factor. So what we're going to do is take those first two and group them together. And the way we group in math is with parentheses. I'm going to group the second two together also, the 3a plus 4. Okay, now what I do is I look for a common factor in each of those groups. So I'm going to start with this first group, look for your common factor between 15a cubed and 20a squared. That would be 5a squared. Take it out of both. 15 divided by 5 is 3. I took out 2 of the a's, plus 20 divided by 5 is 4. And I took out both the a's. Okay, then we do the second one separately. So look for a common factor between 3a and 4. They do not have a common factor other than 1. You can always take 1 out of everything. So I'm going to go plus, and I'm going to take out a 1, and that would leave me with a 3a plus 4. Once you get to here, there's one more step. So now instead of having 4 terms, we just have 2. We have this one and this one. We want to look for what they have in common. They both have a 3a plus 4. So I'm going to take out the 3a plus 4. When I do that, I'm putting what's left. So I'm factoring out that common factor of 3a plus 4. That leaves me with a 5a squared plus 1. And there's our factored form. That times that, if I were to multiply it out, that times that, it will give me that answer to that polynomial that we started with. Let's try another one with a plus, and then we'll do one with a minus. When you do a minus, it gets there's a little trick to it. So we'll go through that, and I'll show you how we'll do that. So, okay, again, look for a common factor between all 4, and there is not one. So I'm going to group these. I'm going to put the first two together. 24b to the third minus 9b squared plus 56b minus 21. So look at the first two, take out your common factor. That'd be a, 3b squared. 84 divided by 3 is 8. I took out 2 of the b's. 9 divided by 3 is 3. I took out 2 of the b's. Okay, 56b minus 21, so look for your common factor. That would be 7. 56 divided by 7. 21 divided by 7. When you get to here, if this is going to work, the parentheses have to be the same every time. So if you get to this point and they're not, you know there's a couple things. One is you can try switching the middle two terms and try it again. You could switch those two around and try it again. But if that doesn't work, either we've done something wrong or factoring by grouping doesn't work. Okay, anyway, we've got the same thing in the parentheses though, so let's take it out. So I'm going to take out the 8b minus 3 out in front, and then put what's left when you take it out. So I'm left with a 3b squared plus 7. And we're done, we've got it factored. The nice thing about factoring by grouping is it is a step-by-step thing. So once we have the steps down, you're just, it's an algorithm. You're going to keep repeating those same steps whenever you have one of these. The only tricky part really with factoring by grouping is when there's a minus in between. So I want to show you what happens here. So this is what we do a lot, is we take the first two and group them together, which is great. That's what you're supposed to do. And then we put the minus there, and we put 8r plus 64. Okay, now I've just made a mistake, so I made an error there. So I want you to pause for just a second, think about that, see if you can figure out what I did wrong. If I put that minus in front of the parentheses over here, right, the minus in front of these parentheses over here, that means that minus applies to both of them. Well, the problem is that means it's minus 8r, which is okay, but it means it's a minus 64, which is, it's not a minus 64, it's supposed to be a plus. So this is the trick. You can put a minus in between, that's fine. But if you do, let's put our minus there. But if you do, you have to switch both the signs. So this minus 8r becomes a positive 8r, and this plus 64 becomes a minus 64. So if you put a minus in between, you've got to change both of those signs. Okay, now let's take out our common factor. So if I take a 3r squared out of the first one, that would leave me with r minus 8. Okay, then I have 8r minus 64, so my common factor is 8. So I'm going to take, there's already a minus there, but I'm going to take out an 8. That would leave me with r minus 64 divided by 8 is 8. Okay, my parentheses work out to be the same. They're both in r minus 8. So I take out the r minus 8. That leaves me with 3r squared minus 8 in the second set of parentheses. You guys pause this and give this one a try. And then if we've got it, this is pretty much all there is to it. So this is factoring my grouping. So pause it, give this one a try, then I'll go through it with you. So this one has a minus in the middle. This is the ones we have to be careful with. So I group the first two together. 20x to the third minus 8x squared. I'm going to put a minus there, but that means I have to switch the 15 to a positive 15x and the 6 to a negative. Got to switch both of those inside signs. Okay, take out a 4x squared out of the first one. That would leave me a 5x minus 2. Take a 3 out of the second one. That would leave me with 5x minus 2. That's what we wanted to happen, is we wanted those to come out to be the same. They're both 5x minus 2. Okay, let's factor that out of both of them and put the 5x minus 2 out in front. Okay, put what's left after we do that. So I've got the 4x squared minus 3 left over. Okay, there's our factored form. Again, if you ever want to check it, we're just going to multiply this back out, right? 5x times 4x gives me the 20x cubed. 5x times a minus 3, that gives me the minus 15x. Minus 2 times 4x squared gives me the minus 8x squared. And the minus 2 times the minus 3 gives me the plus 6. Okay, so if I multiply it out, I end up with what I started with. Okay, and that pretty much all there is. You split it into two separate groups, take your common factor out. Once you get to that point, if the parentheses are the same, and they should be, if it's going to work, they have to be, you take that out, and then in the second set of parentheses, you have whatever's left.